So we're out here in Memphis. We're getting ready for a UFC 107. It's after the weigh-in. This is the time I like to actually analyze the picks. I hate doing it early in the week. I hate doing it a week ago because now we saw the weigh-in and now we – yeah, and you know what? A lot changes, doesn't it? The last couple of days in terms of feeling the aura, the confidence, hearing guys talk, and then seeing them at the weigh-in.
You see them on the scale and you see how they look. You see how the weight cut went. You see how confident they look. You see how they look against each other. And, I think it was very interesting weigh-in today. We had 6 guys that missed weight. We had 2 other guys that early in the afternoon changed their fight from a middleweight fight to a catchweight fight at 195. So it was kind of a weird day today.
All right, well, let's start on the lower end real quick. On the Gouveia-Belcher thing, what do you think? I mean, to me, bad sign if Wilson Gouveia couldn't come anywhere close to making weight. And actually, in the end, Belcher was heavier, so he was planning on cutting like 8 to 10 today, and then they wound up doing a catch weight, and Belcher was the heavier guy.
Yeah, what happened was Gouveia was in the middle of his cut today, Steve, and he weighed 190, and he just was in the sauna, couldn't get anything else off. So his team called UFC people and said, hey, I can't make it down below 190. So they had 2 options. What they could have done at that point was they could have said Belcher can make the weight, be 185, at which point Gouveia would have been fined 20% of his purse, with half of that going to Belcher. Or they could have agreed to a catch weight and neither guy got fined. So they called Belcher and he said, well, you know what, I'm at 195 right now. I'll just stop, and that's where they went. So, I think that really does favor Belcher.
You talked to Jeff Mullen, the commish here. There wasn't anything wrong with that scale. That it seemed like every guy was a pound or a pound and a half over. Every guy.
On the main card, the only person who actually hit, other than the heavyweights, who hit the number was B.J. Penn. Yeah. Came in at 55 on the first try. Everybody else was at least, used a plus 1 pound to make it over. I've heard from some UFC people that, in fact, there was a problem with the scale and that they knew it. Jeff Mullen says there wasn't, but they did go to the trouble of recalibrating it right before the main event weigh-in. Burt Watson went over, they zeroed it out and recalibrated it. So theoretically, it was correct when Diego Sanchez got on and weighed in at 156.
Right. That fight, last couple of days, I actually... I like Diego as a fighter. I think he's a well-rounded guy, but I've gotten more confident in BJ the last couple of days just because his demeanor, and I like Sanchez in the intensity, but I think at some point it kind of works against you if the other guy is that calm and that confident.
Well, and BJ is a great fighter. I mean, let's not forget that. And I mean, BJ to me looks in phenomenal condition. I mean, all this talk everybody's talking is BJ not in good condition. Well, I think it's baloney. I mean, BJ is in excellent condition. I think he's ready to fight 5 hard rounds if he needs to. And so the way I see this fight going is that Diego really has his work cut out for him. He's going to have to catch BJ with something that BJ doesn't see, because BJ's got the better stand-up, BJ's better on the ground, BJ's got the phenomenal takedown defense. So I think BJ's going to dictate which way the fight goes.
So your pick is BJ. From a gambling standpoint, he's actually a gigantic favorite. He's now up to like minus 350 in Vegas. I mean, is he that strong a favorite, or is it too risky with the 4-ounce gloves?
I mean, I think Diego Sanchez is a very good fighter, and to lay that kind of money with those gloves and just, a slip, anything can happen. This isn't boxing where, it's more unlikely. I kind of like the fact that, I would stay away from that. I wouldn't want to lay that kind of money, but I do like BJ Penn to win the fight.
What gives you pause now, too, is after the Ultimate Fighter 10 finale, Illegal Blows can end a fight, and that was a bizarre fight where a guy was getting destroyed in Matt Hamill, and he's getting plus 280, and he winds up being the winner. So you got to be careful on these fights.
Cash right there,
right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And who expected that? If you had a Hamill ticket, you got lucky. All right. I'm going to call it it is called the co-main event. To me, it's the main event now in terms of hype. The Mir Congo stuff the last couple of days, going back and watching the countdown show, if you got a chance to watch that during the week, I mean, the trash talk is amazing. Congo's getting pissed. On Congo's side, do you think is he going to be taken out of his game too much now? Is he playing into Frank Mir's hands a little too much?
I don't think Congo handled it very well all week, and certainly he didn't handle it very well today, Steve. I kind of thought when you saw him turn his back to Mir at the weigh-in today, I mean, he was trying to make a statement, and Mir made some really bad remarks about him. But, I think, you should have, just looked him in the eyes, did the normal stare down, and not given Mir a chance to think that, I've got in his head. I think right now Frank Mir feels like he's gotten in Chet Congo's head, and he probably has.
Yep. All right, Frank's side. The weight to me is a little bizarre because we heard, and if you didn't see it, he weighed in at 264.5. The guy was 243 or 245 back in July at UFC 100. I don't mind seeing him put on bulk and muscle. I don't know if he needed to do it this quickly, and this is the guy that he needed to do it against.
Well, he is huge, and when he stepped on the scale, he looked over at the UFC ownership group there, and he wasn't sure he was going to make it. That's what I took from it. I don't know if you felt that way, but
he let out a sigh when it was 264.5. He actually made a face.
I looked at it. I was going I'm not so sure that he's going to make this, but yeah, I tend to agree with you. Frank needs to get the fight to the ground. I mean, Congo's going to win the fight if it's really a stand-up battle. I just don't think that as much as Frank has improved, that his stand-up is as good as Czech's is, and Czech has great knees and great kicks and everything. So Frank needs to get the fight to the ground, and you want to have your quickness and your athletic ability to be able to do that. Did he retain that, putting on those 25 extra pounds? It remains to be seen. A lot of times guys don't, especially the first time out.
All right. And do you think he's cocky, overconfident? I thought his behavior at the press conference yesterday, kind of aloof, leaning backwards, talking trash. Could he be cocky?
I think he might be. You know what? But I think Mir is the better fighter. I like Mir in the fight, despite all the negatives. And I worry a little bit about. I look at him and I say, he's big. I look at him and I wonder if he's taking Congo lightly. But having said all that, I just think he's the better overall fighter. He has a better stand-up game than Congo has a ground game. I think he can defend himself better against Congo's strikes than Congo can against his submissions. So I think Frank will submit him somewhere, probably in the first round. I really believe that Frank will find a way to get him down.
All right, last one, up and down the card. Is there an upset special? I'll go to the beginning of the card. Odds-wise, Kevin Burns is actually a gigantic favorite against TJ Grant, and I basically think they're mirror images of each other. So I think Grant has I'm talking like he's plus 220 or 210. So that I'm going on value on that one. Is there a fight that you look at and you go, you know what, the dog has a good chance in this one?
Well, I certainly think in the Paul Harris fight, that might be one where we have it there. Paul Harris, I think this is his first fight back from the injury, and that could be one where we see it. And on the main card, this is going to sound weird, but I'm starting to think Clay Guida has a chance. I really haven't thought that up until this point, Steve, but the Greg Jackson influence can't be overstated. And I'm just hearing little crazy things about turmoil with Kenny Florian, and things aren't 100% straight. And I think of Guida, the problem Guida's had in the past is he hasn't had the tools to finish. He gets you down, he gets you in a compromising position. He hasn't had the tools to finish. And, I'm starting to think that's what Greg Jackson is going to bring to the table. Greg Jackson might give him those tools to get the fight over with. When he gets a guy in a compromising position, finish him. We know that Clay's going to be in great shape. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I'm starting to lean Clay's way on that one.
And a good angle on that fight. It's Zahabi against Jackson, and both of those guys will be working together next year with GSP when he comes back. So FedEx Forum right behind us. We'll be back tomorrow night after the fight to wrap things up. Should be a good fight card, and thanks for being with us.